All right, everyone, welcome to Wonder. Today I have an amazing guest, someone I personally met, actually heard him speak as a keynote speaker at our local church here at Awaken Church in our Pathfinders Marketplace ministry, Mr. Jeff Hoffman. Jeff, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and give your introduction, your bio, and then we'll jump in. Entrepreneur, speaker, humanitarian, Jeff Hoffman is an award-winning global entrepreneur, proven CEO, worldwide motivational speaker, best-selling author, Hollywood film producer, producer of a Grammy award-winning jazz album, and executive producer of an Emmy award-winning television show. Throughout his career, he's founded multiple startups, served as a CEO of both public and private companies, and held senior executive roles in many capacities. Jeff has been part of a number of well-known successful startups, including Priceline.com/Booking.com, Ubid.com, and more. Thank you for being here. You said you're calling in from lovely Florida. So here in Boise, I love technology that we can have this conversation. I'd love to just learn a little bit more about your childhood, because that's where all this, your sense of wonder comes from. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and your mom's influence in your life?
Yeah, I grew up in the Arizona desert with a single mom who had 4 kids and 3 different jobs, super hard worker. My mom was always focused on the positive. If you would say, I don't think I can do something, mom's answer always was, why can't you? So it was a really good influence to grow up around. And more than what she said, she just did, right? She was trying to keep her kids. If you knew back then what you found out later, right, which is that she was killing herself work-wise because she wanted to be able to afford to stay in a certain school zone. And if we'd known that, we would have said, my gosh, you don't have to work all those jobs. We'll go to school somewhere else. We'll be fine. But we found that out much later. But point is, she led by example. When there was a goal she had, i.e., get my kids into this school zone, then she did what she had to do to make that happen. So that was a great example to grow up around. But, we grew up, we had nothing. Mom was doing the best she could, but we grew up poor.
Did you know that you were growing up poor? Or at what point did you kind of recognize
No, many years later, going back, my sister and I kind of marveled at, my sister said to me relatively recently, how come we didn't know we were that poor? That's just a tribute to mom. She never focused on, I look back, we never went on vacations. We didn't really go out to restaurants and stuff. And I look back at that and we didn't care. Growing up, I didn't know I was missing anything. So,
yeah, well, she did a great job then. So you mentioned you have some siblings, and this, why not attitude that you adopted from your mom that she exemplified. Did your siblings also pick up on that, and how did that play out in their lives?
yeah, most definitely. Except it's interesting that the one with the least confidence is my oldest sister, who was the oldest of the 4 of us. And she was the one that encouraged me to do so many things. I got into high school right away. She said, run for president of the class. And I was like, what? And she said, I would never do it. But she said, you should. So my older sister actually never had the confidence to do the same number of things, but she was the one always telling me, you should do this, you should do that. So without her, I don't think I would have done a lot of the things that I did. She was following through on mom's positive attitude always, and always supporting me.
And how many years are you guys apart?
5.
5 years. Okay. So are you like a middle child, a youngest child?
Well, there's 4 of us, so none of the above.
Oh, okay. I'm one of 4, but my brothers are twins, so I count them as one.
Okay. Both my sisters are older and my brother's younger.
Oh, okay. Got it. So the curiosity about life seems like it's a guiding principle for you. Aside from the example of your family, does that come from anywhere else for you? Is there inspiration, like maybe like a higher being?
The big influence in my childhood was a quote from Mark Twain that I read in a book that I was doing a book report on, where Mark Twain said that travel is the fatal enemy of prejudice. And I just felt like that was so meaningful to me personally, but I had no idea why. So I went home and talked to my mom at length. And, my mom's like, what Mark Twain was saying was that the world would have less war, less conflicts, less, quote, hate if people took the time to get outside of their bubble and get to know people that don't look like them. So
Right.
I was like, I want to do that. And I was fascinated. So I started researching countries all the time. When I was bored and had nothing to do in the desert, I would pick a country. I had a globe, didn't have a ton of toys, but I had a
You did have
globe.
an internet.
So mom got me a globe, and I would spin the globe and close my eyes and point, and whatever country my finger landed on, that weekend I would go to the library and research that country. So that's where the curiosity started because then I'd be curious about the culture and the way they live and the food they eat and exploring cultures, originally remotely is what got me to say, man, I want to go visit these places. But that's really was the driver of it.
Curiosity about the world, the Mark Twain
Yep.
quote.
What's
Yep.
going on in the whole rest of the world outside of where I live?
Yeah, I love that. And even before you had that conversation with your mom, it seems like something resonated deep inside that you went back and said, "Hey, mom, I read this quote. It really, hit home." And then she kind of
Yep. I wasn't sure why, but I knew I had to follow through.
the visual that you explained, like, spinning the globe, closing your eyes. My sister, actually, my older sister, she would do that. And she's like, I want to travel here. And she just kind of let the globe pick for her.
It's really exciting, but so that drove me that really wanting to way back then. I was like, I gotta find a life where I can go see the world.
Yeah. So that young kid that's grown up and, now that you've had so much success and you've been in the public eye, what is it like seeing your life story featured in media outlets, podcasts,
Well,
interviews?
I that was never the goal, but
Right.
I'll tell you the part that's good. From where I started to where I wound up, it made me believe that anything's possible for anyone, right? Because I started nowhere with nothing and was able to build a life that's beyond what I ever dreamed of. Since then, for the second half of my life now is like I just came from a youth camp with tons of kids. And, literally my goal there was to let these kids know you actually can be and do anything you want. It's on you and no one can stop you. Right. And, so that's the part I guess that matters to me is the fact that saying that is one thing, but the fact that the kids see what I actually did, they look at my actual life and they're like, wow, you really did do those things. You're not just telling us to do something that it's not possible that you didn't do. So it helps give me the credibility when I talk to people and say, here's what's possible. So that's the part that matters to me. I didn't really care about, highlighting my life per se, except if it was an example or an inspiration to somebody else to say, wait, if he did that, I could do that. That
Yeah.
matters to me.
Do you share the story of the young 5-year-old who inspired you to just keep asking questions? Why do we do things the way we do?
Yeah, that's what 5-year-olds do. When you tell a 5-year-old, get in the car, they say, why? Because we're going to the store. Why? Because we need food. Why? Because we need to eat. Why? Because if we don't eat, we'll die. Why? Right? They don't accept anything. They really need to be convinced. They need to be able to see it and understand it. And I started to pay attention to the world's most creative and successful people. And I noticed a big thing. They never stopped their asking why. Their
Mhm.
childlike wonder is still there. They didn't lose that 5-year-old. And so when I was around people like, I think I might have told that story that I'm not sure, but when Steve Wozniak and I were spending a day together, we were in Manchester, England. We went into somebody's office, not someone we know. We were just getting out of we were waiting for photographers to come. We were kind of hiding.
Okay.
And while we were talking, I didn't notice this, but Wozniak took apart some machine that was on this man's desk. And the man came in and said, who did this? He was very upset. And I looked down and said, uh-oh. And Wozniak said, I did. And he's like, why on earth would you take apart something on somebody else's desk? And Woz said, because I just couldn't figure out how it worked. It was driving me crazy, wondering how this thing worked. And I was like, those people never stop wondering about things in the world, the most creative people. So that was a huge lesson for me,
Yeah, that's a
is
great story.
never lose that childlike sense of wonder about the world and all the things around you.
And why things work the way they do. Have you caught up with that 5-year-old little girl that, that you were in charge of for today and she kept asking
Yep,
and
most definitely. And that continued to drive, a lot more educational goals for her,
I love that.
and grad school and a research project. So, yep, most definitely.
When you met the Dalai Lama, he kind of gave you an inspiration to focus on kids and youth. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I didn't know I was going to spend the day with him, so I wasn't sure what to ask. So I was like, wow, any advice? And he said, yes. He said, uh, you would think that if you want to change the world, you need to go talk to the people that run it. Doesn't that seem logical? Right? You want to change the world, go talk to people that run the world. And he said, except it's a waste of time, which, by the way, was something I was already feeling. And he said, those people are never going to change. It's too late. He said, let them die off. And he said, spend all your time preparing the youth to be better leaders. We can't fix today's world leader. But if you prepare the youth now, their definition of leadership will be much more heart-centered and human-centered, and it'll just be a much better world. I fundamentally, completely believe that and agree, which is why I spend as much time as I can trying to mentor kids. We help them with their mindset and the way they think of and approach the world before it's too late.
When did you have this encounter with him? When did he share this advice with you?
That was it was pre-COVID, so probably 6 or 7 years ago.
6, 7. And did you just go to work right away, working with
Well, no,
youth?
I'd already been doing that, but I'd been
Oh,
doing both.
okay.
I've been talking to kids and I had been meeting with a lot of world leaders. So what I did was just stop a lot of the latter activity. And I said, he's right. I'm wasting my time. I can preach to them all I want, but they're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So it just helped me increase my focus on youth.
I haven't met him, but there was a quote of his that drove a lot of my work a few years ago. I used to teach meditation, and he said, if every 8-year-old in the world was taught meditation, we would eliminate violence from
Yeah.
our world within one generation. And it goes back to like, curating their mind towards
Yep.
positivity, teamwork, collaboration, empathy, versus, separation. So
Yep. Totally agree.
yeah,
And
so
it's so great. Was just telling a friend from, the youth thing I just did. It's so great that their mindset is positive. They believe kids still believe everything's possible,
yes.
right? They're not jaded yet. So it's so reassuring to talk to kids because they want to make a difference and they still think they can. Adults give up too easily.
Yeah. And they have this next to their sense of wonder, they also have this like natural sense of justice about the world. And
Yep, I agree too.
and those two things combined is very powerful. Maybe if a youth is watching this or a parent of a youth that maybe they've lost their childlike curiosity because of like the environment they grew up in or an experience they had, how would they get that back?
Yeah, no, that's on them. That's not hard at all to redo that. But the environment around them might need to change. In fact, a lot of parents, I have to tell them, you're stifling your kids' curiosity, right? The story that I told you guys, when the 5-year-old said to me, how do they make glass? My response was, who cares? I don't make glass. I'm never going to make glass. I don't need to know that, right? And in fact, therein lies the problem. What the answer should be, I don't know, but let's sit down and look it up. Let's go research it and learn together about how they make glass, because who knows what other knowledge that might lead us to, or where something we learned along the way came in handy. So, environmentally, right, for parents that are listening, don't shut off your children's curiosity. Encourage it. Say, that's a great question. Let's look it up. For people as they get older to rediscover that, that's on you. Just schedule the time. Literally one day if you're walking by and you're thinking, I wonder how they made that, stop, take the time and go figure out how they made that. You've
Yeah.
got a scheduled time to let your curiosity free.
Yeah. And so with that, let's go ahead and talk about you being what you call yourself an info sponge. So that's probably a new term for our audience. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I mean, and that's just a term I made up for the practice, because the flip side is people have businesses to run, bills to pay, and they have to stay focused. So, um, what I said was I need a technique to accomplish both. So, my info sponging idea is that I try to challenge myself to learn one new thing a day. And for anybody listening to us, if you can't do it a day, do it once a week. But the way I do that is when I get up in the morning for the first 20 minutes, that's it, of the day, 15 minutes. You don't work in your industry, you don't work in travel, you don't work for your company, and you're going to go learn one new thing that you don't need to know. I'm going to read a story about the future of finance. I'm going to read a story about a cultural trend in sub-Saharan Africa, whatever it is. I'm going to watch a video. I go learn one new thing outside of my world every day, and then I just write down one sentence of what I learned from that. And those pieces of knowledge, I always tell people, are like puzzle pieces, right? You move them around the table, and pretty soon patterns start to form. Just like if you had enough puzzle pieces, you would start to be able to tell what the puzzle is, what the picture in the puzzle is. I noticed that my business heroes, the most creative people, that's what they do with knowledge. They collect bits of knowledge and they move them around the table in their brain, and they say, oh, wait, I see what's coming next. That's why they're always the innovators that come up with the really cool stuff that everyone else wishes they'd thought of. So that's what info sponging is about, is schedule some time to go pick up some shiny object that you don't need to know. I don't even know why I'm clicking on the stuff I click sometime. I just follow my curiosity. But all that extra knowledge from outside of my industry winds up giving me brand new ideas that no one in my industry has thought of.
Hmm. And that's, how Priceline kind of came together. Has there been any new spark recently through your info sponging that you're following the thread of curiosity on?
Well, that would lead into AI, and then it suddenly exploded. So I was looking at it way before it was the popular thing to do. The
Hmm.
explosion, I think, caught all of us off guard. How quickly all of a sudden everybody was in AI. But that was the one recently, within the last couple of years, the biggest spark.
Yeah. What you said about info sponging and challenging or taking up the commitment to learn something new every day, or every week if you don't have the time for every day. So a few years ago, well, almost 10 years ago, I did something where I tried a new experience every week, and I created
That's cool.
a web series, and at the time I was in my 35th year of life, so it was called Thrive at 35. But I only did it once a week, and I mean it completely transformed my life. Imagine now, 365 new things that you've learned that are completely out of your scope of the universe, how much better you'd be for it, and
Yep.
how much better the world around you would be for it.
And like I said, when I started specifically studying the people that I thought were the real change makers in the world, that was a common element. They didn't just look at a small slice of the world. If I run a healthcare company, all I care about is healthcare. They don't do that. They do what you did with experiences. They grow and expand in areas that at the time they're not even sure why, but they don't stay in their bubble.
The other piece during your keynote that really stuck out to me was you had a year of yes, where you decided you're going to say yes to anyone that asked you for help.
Yeah,
And then that ended
that
up
was
becoming 6 years, right?
yes. That was the launch of when I said I'm done with the CEO years of my life, the business side, and I want to focus on giving back. And I said I got to figure out how I want to get started doing that. So that was the idea. Just didn't tell anybody, but I said, I'll do this year of yes. That for this time period, I'll just say yes to helping people, no questions asked, for a year, so I could really dig into the service commitment that I made.
Right. So it was an internal decision. It's not like you put it on your website, Jeff Hoffman here.
Nope, I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. So there was a, young 19-year-old man from Senegal who reached out to you and you ended up showing up at his
Yeah,
home.
that was the second request I got when I said I was going to do that. And he's like, he sent me this email that said, "Dear Mr. Hoffman," he said, "I know you won't read this email, and if you do, you won't reply." And I was like, "Oh man, it's on now." Uh, and I sent him a note and I said, "What's up?" And he said, "I have great ideas. I could help all the families in my village, but I have no idea how to start or how to access resources." So I said, "I'll be there."
Yeah. And then he said something to you along the lines of, teach me so I don't have to be in this position to ask for help again, right?
Yeah, exactly. When I
Okay.
went there and said, "How can I help you?" He said, "I don't really want your help." Um, he said, "I just want you to teach me how to help myself," which was really cool.
Yeah. So I was trying to find, his story. I did see like a young man who now, is running a business with 350 people employed, across 7 nations. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, I think it's what we're here for. That
Yeah.
was my hope, right? To be able to have, your ultimate legacy shouldn't be serving yourself; it should be serving others, and being able to make a positive impact on people's lives that could use the help.
Yeah.
So it's always great when it actually works.
It's awesome. Are other CEOs in your inner circle picking up on this? Are they, doing what you're doing? Are they seeing your results and the impact you're having in the community and saying, hey, you know what? Hey, Jeff, I'm gonna come alongside you and do this with you, or I'm gonna do a version of this. Uh, have you seen any of that?
Yeah, a lot. That's why I do the speaking. I go out and do events like the one I did that you and I were at for that exact reason. If it wasn't causing any behavioral changes, after that night in Boise, I've had a number of people from there that said, "Hey, you changed my way of thinking or altered my life path." So that's the whole reason to do it. Giving people the nudge they need to make the change they kind of wanted to change anyway.
Wonderful. I mean, I was shocked that you came after you had broken some ribs and you had to get on an airplane. Uh,
Little accident.
I mean, the level of commitment, but also just integrity to come through on your word is it's no shock. You've had the level of impact and success that you've had. How did you become the guy within the celebrity world who gets things done? How did that reputation get
Yeah,
started?
that's a big part uh, of what, the message that you give kids, that you got to become the go-to girl or guy to the people that you want to be around by being able to solve the problems they have that they can't solve. And you do that, I always tell them, by studying their industry. If there's an industry you want to be important to, I wanted to be important to the travel industry. And people you want to be important to, I wanted the airlines to need me for something. Then the way you get there is solve one of their problems they can't solve. So that's kind of the secret formula. So a lot of the people that reach out to me because they're, like I think I told the story, for example, the singer Pitbull. When Pitbull called me, I was like, wow, what can I help you with? And he said, I got some issues, some things I'm trying to deal with. And everyone says, you're the guy to call. You're the go-to guy. So it really is that simple. You can get anywhere you want or to anyone you want as long as you are valuable to them. And the definition of being valuable is I got a problem and you're the one who can solve it.
You don't seem to like be starstruck to me at all. Like, people are people. But was there a phone call that you got or an email that you said, "Oh my gosh, like I love their work and they're reaching out to me. Wow." Like,
Um, not really starstruck. The first one was just surprise, which was the singer, Christina Aguilera. She's the first one that called and said, "Can you come over to my house?" And I'm like, "What am I doing here?" Um, that was more
wait, did you have to go to
surprise.
LA?
I was in LA and she said, "I heard you're in town. Will you come over?" Um, So I went over to their house for the evening. So that was the first time somebody with a big name called me and said, I need to talk to you. Can you help me? So it was more surprised. I'm like, why? What am I doing? I said to her, what am I doing here? And she said, I have this specific problem. And everybody I talked to said, call Jeff. He's the go-to guy for that. So, uh, but there are definitely people, Shaquille O'Neal's become a good friend. And I've always admired his big giant heart and the way he gives so generously to so many people.
Yeah.
So that was one that I was just really excited that now we're friends and now we do charity work together. That meant a lot to me because I admire him so much. But back then I never thought we'd wind up being really good friends and doing this stuff together.
Incredible. Incredible. I have a question because I was in this place before. I don't think I am now. We talked about like kids who maybe they've lost their sense of curiosity, but let's talk about like adults who are, in this entrepreneurial rat race and they just really want to make it, but it's not happening, or there's obstacles, or there's competition that's doing better than them. What would you say to them?
Well, there's always all those things. That's literally the definition of it. So if those things stop you, you should go get a job at a big company. You're not an entrepreneur. Sorry, but that's the truth. All
Okay.
entrepreneurs battle through those things. And people that can't are just not entrepreneurs. Everybody is, in fact, not cut out to be an entrepreneur. In the same way, in reverse. When I got out of college, I had a corporate job. I am not cut out for corporate America. It went very poorly. So there's no right or wrong. It's a DNA thing. But people can see those as problems or challenges, right? The most successful entrepreneurs are challenged and excited about everything you just listed.
Mm-hmm.
Though they know they can overcome all those things and they get excited about winning. But for the most part, entrepreneurs that are failing, the biggest reason usually is product market fit. They're creating something that they're just not selling, it's not doing well because they created what they thought was a good idea, not what some large customer base with a credit card in their hand thought was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tell them, stop. You design your business, your products in your office. And I have to tell people, get out of the office, go out in the market, find the people that you thought were going to buy this thing before you launch it, and dig way deeper and find out what they want, how they want it, what they'll pay for it before you go build a company even. That's not what most people do. 90 something percent. They have an idea, they launch their idea, they build a company, launch a product, and they're upset that it's not going well because you did it all backwards. You don't build a company from your office out. You build a company from the customer in. And I did not know that myself. I learned that by studying the most successful people and noticing that they all did that.
It's just a different angle on that Mark Twain quote. You know, like he's talking about get out into the world, meet people who are not like you, and you'll stop hatred and separation. You're saying, hey, if you want to create a solution for the world, go out into the world. Like you can't do it
Yep,
internally, looking
exactly.
outward. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Well, this was wonderful. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that maybe I didn't ask about?
Yeah, just I guess some closing advice, which you just said. I'm just going to summarize it because I'm glad you said that, which is that, the key to everything is being engaged. The more places you go, the more people you meet, the more likely you are to A, have the next brilliant idea because you're out in the world. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was a problem. I'm going to fix it. Or you'll meet people that you'll say, wow, I know exactly who can help me fix this thing, right? Sitting in your office, staying just on your devices, right? Being at home on the couch, none of those things lead to great inspiration, innovation, or understanding of the market, i.e., the world and people. The more you're out, the more places you go. So a lot of times, things like going to Boise, I say yes to a lot of things because the more places I go and the more new people I meet, the more ideas I have and the greater my network becomes. That's my advice. Get up, get out, go somewhere. When someone invites you to go somewhere that you're like, wait, why would I go with you guys to that? Don't say that. Just say, I don't know why I'm going, but sure, let's go. New experiences like you did.
Wow.
The more engaged you are in the world and the people around you, the more, much higher chance of success you have of serving that world with products and ideas.
Wonderful. And if there are youth or parents of youth watching this and they'd love to plug their children into your programs, how do they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a website, jeffhoffman.com, and on there you can also see our youth foundation, which is called World Youth Horizons. But it's accessible via that website. So
Perfect.
feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. All right. This was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.